Ask a veteran from another country what it was like to fight alongside the British, and they'll probably laugh before they even answer. They remember men brewing tea in shell holes, officers marching toward machine gun fire with umbrellas, commandos storming beaches to the sound of bagpipes. On paper, it sounds completely insane. Yet time and time again, British troops have wrapped the deadliest business on earth in a thin, stubborn layer of absurdity. So why? It's not because they don't take war seriously. It's almost the opposite. That eccentric streak is what happens when a culture that has been fighting wars for centuries tries to keep its sanity. Odd rituals and deadpan jokes become a kind of armor. If you can walk into hell with a teapot and pretend it's just mildly inconvenient, then fear doesn't get to write the whole script. A lot of this starts with the old officer class. For generations, British officers came from boarding schools and universities where they were taught that emotion is weakness and the correct response to pain is a joke. You didn't cry, you shrugged. You didn't say, "I'm scared," you said. That was a bit dicey, what? When those boys became lieutenants, they took that training straight into the trenches. Add to that a national obsession with sport. The same empire that colored world maps pink also treated cricket and football like religions. Team games were meant to build character, so war was framed as the ultimate away match. That's why, on the Somme in 1916, men from the East series really did kick footballs across no man's land toward German trenches. Terrifying? Yes, but also, in their minds, strangely familiar. Then there's tea. You can't talk about British eccentricity in war without the kettle. In the First World War, artillery schedules were literally built around the dawn brew up. In North Africa, tank crews would climb down from still-smoking vehicles to light stoves on the sand. To their enemies, it looked like lunacy. To the British, boiling water was a survival drill for the soul. It meant routine, and routine meant the universe still had rules. Of course, certain individuals turned this culture into legend. Mad Jack Churchill went into World War II with a longbow and a Scottish broadsword, insisting that any officer who goes into action without his sword is improperly dressed. Piper Bill Millen walked up Sword Beach on D-Day, playing his bagpipes while men fell all around him. Major Digby Tatham Warder carried an umbrella at Arnhem, using it to hook phone wires and jab German drivers. To their enemies, these men looked deranged. To their own troops, they were oddly reassuring. Underneath it all is gallows humor. British soldiers in both world wars filled trench newspapers with savage jokes about mud, lice, and death. Bomber crews painted cheeky cartoons on aircraft that had a 50-50 chance of not returning. In Iraq and Afghanistan, soldiers gave lethal, i.e. deriddled routes silly nicknames and mocked their own fear. Laughing at horror doesn't mean you don't feel it. It's a way of refusing to let it have the last word. Their empire also shaped this style. For 2 centuries, small groups of British troops fought thousands of miles from home. Marching in the Sudan in wool uniforms or playing cricket between battles wasn't just about comfort. It was a way of saying, we are who we are, and the world will adjust. This insistence on being absurdly British in alien landscapes became a habit. Allies sometimes mistook this for amateurism. It took time to realize that behind the umbrellas and the understatement was a deeply professional military machine. The eccentricity was a mask, not the face. Underneath, British troops were just as frightened and determined as anyone else. But there is a cost. If you train people to meet horror with jokes, you also make it harder for them to admit they're broken later. Veterans who could crack wise under shellfire often struggled to say, "I need help back home." The same culture that produced these marvelous stories also produced decades of silence about trauma. So why are the British so eccentric in war? Because that's the language their history gave them for courage. Other nations wrap bravery in talk of honor and glory. The British wrap it in self-mockery, hot tea, and an almost aggressive politeness. On the surface, it looks like comedy. Underneath, it's a way of walking into hell while pretending it's just another rainy afternoon. And the worst thing that can happen is the tea going cold. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, consider subscribing for more stories like this.